arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Okay, councillors, good morning. Thank you all for coming along this morning. Good morning, officers. I'd like to move that the meeting be resumed and seek a seconder. Councillor Kirkland. Put that. Those in favour. Those opposed. Motion's carried. So we're back into our part 2 council meeting from yesterday. So just before we go, there was an item there that was raised yesterday, and I'd hand over to the CEO just for some clarification on some work overnight. Thank you.
So I'll read a bit of a statement, Mr Mayor and councillors. So on reviewing the minutes of the meeting in relation to item 11.14, I've discussed the conflict of interest with Councillor Rutherford further, and Councillor Rutherford does not have a prescribed conflict of interest in this matter, as Extreme Trampoline Club was not the entity applying to the lease of 125 Robinson Street. Instead, Councillor Rutherford has a declarable conflict of interest, and as a result, this updates Councillor Mathers. Due to the update, Councillor Mathers does not have a prescribed conflict of interest in this matter. Councillor Mathers and Councillor Wickerson may or may not still have a declarable conflict of interest. So, just want to put that back into the records there, Mr Mayor, if I could.
Sorry, hand over to Justin to bring that one forward. That's 11.15. Thanks very much, and good morning, Justin.
Good morning, Mr Mayor. Good morning through the Chair, Council. This report obviously speaks to Rugby Park and the Rockhampton Grammar School. Most of us might recall a couple of years back we went through an exercise with the school, a very positive exercise looking at a capital development proposal for the site. Now, we went through that. We came to agreement that their recommendation, the existing footprint of the Rugby Park precinct, and the extension was considered, and with that, a resolution to pass up to a 30-year trustee lease was granted. Since that time of that resolution, officers and the school have been working over the last 2 years. I think it's been close to 2 years now. As they started to get closer to that detailed design for the relative stages of that project, more information came to light, and more specifically, the condition of that land and the fact that it's on the EMR. So Rugby Park historically has that history of being an old landfill. With that comes some complications that the school has been working through. So I guess the purpose of this report, you will notice that it now looks for a renewal of lease for a period of 6 years, which is consistent with our existing tenure, whilst they continue to go through that exercise. So I don't have a lot of detail as to what their specific views are now on that capital development plan. They are currently reviewing that, and they will bring something back to council with a revised version of that. So this existing lease expires on the 31st of December this year. So to ensure they've got compliant tenure, we're working with them and through yourselves to renew that tenure based under our normal leasing principles. So happy to take any questions. I'll answer them as best as I can.
Thanks very much, Justin. Pretty straightforward report. Councillors, were there any questions? Councillor Rutherford has a sports portfolio.
No, I'm happy to move, Mr Mayor. Probably just one question, and Justin, that the new lease agreement, it will stipulate that that park must, I noticed in here the gates have to remain open, but also that, you know, other organisations can use that outside of the grammar school's organised activities. Correct. So that'll all be covered off on.
Yeah, through the Chair, Councillor, absolutely. So the conditions of existing tenure will stay. So the school will still be compliant to sending their schedule of fees through to council to approve through our general manager. So, and also ensure that the facility is open, accessible for the community as well. So certainly that will stay in place.
Yep, good point. Thanks, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Latcham, have a question?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Through to Justin. Justin, part of that deal with that 30-year lease was a 17,000 kilolitres of water each year. Is that still applying, even though there won't be as much land to have to water?
Through the Chair, Councillor, yeah, we haven't looked at any of those stipulations or those conditions to be changed. So whatever's in the existing lease with consumption, it will remain. And I do apply, I don't have that detail, but if that's what's in there now, that would be consistent with their existing tenure conditions. So I don't believe, and I'd have to take it away and look into it. However, when we did that last lease renewal for the 30 years, which incorporated that extension of area, I don't believe that we increased the consumption of water that was allocated. I think that was consistent with the previous anyway.
Could we, thanks Councillor Latcham, can we just get that information, pass that on to the councillors, please?
I'll take that on notice.
Pre-existing use and pre-use and existing use going forward, just to cover off on that one. Councillor Latcham, further question?
Yep. Thank you. Through to Justin. So with the reduced area, who looks after the remaining area now?
Sorry.
The reduced footprint, who looks after the area that's not under the lease now? I imagine it'd be council, but is that the case?
Yes, through the Chair, absolutely. So the area that we previously resolved to extend and offer under the new tenure, so it has been business as usual. So from that date of approval from council, a new lease did not get drawn to incorporate that area. So the Botanical Gardens and council has remained trustee and obviously the servicing party for that area. So I guess for context, if we go back 2 years with that approval, we never progressed beyond that existing agreement. So the rugby park, the 2 fields, it has not progressed past that. So it'll be the same as.
It was a plan, but it's not.
Correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Latcham. Councillor Wickerson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Through to Justin. Just confirming that all the car parking will be along Yeppan Lagoon. There's no plans to have parking up closer to the residents that we know of at this stage?
Through the Chair, correct. The Blackwall Street, the lagoon parking has always been defined within their footprint as the accessible parking for Rugby Park. In the capital development plan, that area was still retained as parking, and it wasn't to be broadened or identified other areas at all, so that remains unchanged as well.
Okay, thank you. Second question is, early on when we had a site inspection, we were talking about possibly establishing a koala fodder plantation. Did that get resolved, or that's off the table now?
Through the Chair, that historic fodder plantation is still there. I'd have to refer to Aaron and to the zoo on the detail. I don't know how active it is. It's still been utilised, but its capacity and supply is limited. So that still remains on site. I'm not sure how active or what kind of consumption we get out of that.
You able to give some info on that?
Through the Chair, and there is a report today suggesting a far more suitable and alternative location. So carefully considered that area for koalas, but due to flooding and other issues in planning that project, also taking up viable Botanic Gardens land. We'll see the report later on in the agenda about what we feel is a far better proposal.
Okay, thank you. And Mayor, final question. The long-term plan that they've got shows a flood mitigation barrier. That would be pending all the right studies and that for AFLUX and such?
Through the chair, so their capital development plan originally, I guess, proposed, and just to note, I guess the reason we're going through this exercise is I shouldn't say the word withdrawing because we don't know what their revised version will look like. Option 1 certainly did have a flood levy to be considered. That did align with council's initiative of the flood levy at the time. So I would assume that there would be changes to their plan based on council's position on the regional flood levy considered. So to my knowledge at this point, that wouldn't be considered.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Wickerson. Councillor, if there are no further questions, we have a mover, Councillor Rutherford. We have a seconder, Councillor Wickerson. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thanks very much, Justin. We'll move on to our next item, 11.16, the Roman Catholic Corporation for the Diocese of Rockhampton, Kettle Park lease extension.
Morning, Mr Mayor, through the Chair, Councillors. Today, presenting this report, I suppose it was triggered off the back of the project that TCC brought forward due to the, I suppose, reduced fields that might be upcoming with Brown Park closing. So they were looking at doing, as part of their initial master plan was, to get some field lighting, which is the last part of their master planning. This project was sort of done in collaboration with Council and QRL. This was off the back of that, given that the significant investment that they are doing, they need, as per their policy, the QCEC, they need to have insured another 20 years from where they currently are now. So that needs another 5 years to be added onto their current lease. And that's pretty much it, really.
Good on you, Jack, and good morning. It's I think it's a fantastic partnership, and Councillor Rutherford, I'm sure you'd be supportive of this proposal, but I'll go to some questions, and firstly, Councillor Rutherford has a sports portfolio. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Once again, happy to move, and yes, echo your comments. This has been a fantastic outcome for Council and TCC. You know, it's one of those things where it shows that, you know, public-private partnerships can be really successful and deliver great outcomes. And when you go down there and look at what's there in comparison to an unused, just dry open space for many years, it's a really good thing for our community. So I'm more than happy to move this one.
Thanks very much, Councillor Rutherford. I see a question, Councillor Latcham.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just a question through. The reason for this extension is to have a 20-year lease, but to actually give the date of 30th of June of this year, or sorry, the 43, is actually technically less than 20 years. Should this have been 2044? So give them at least 20 years.
Jack?
Yeah, through the Chair. Councillor, I believe that is something that we can adjust if need be to go to the 2044. We can take that on notice, and yeah, if that's what needs to be to the 2044, we can adjust it, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah, no, just thought the 20 years.
Clarification there.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Councillor. That we can make that change. Councillors, further questions? That's a good outcome. I think it's a much love area now. From where it was to where it is now. So can I have a seconder with regards to that? Councillor Wickerson. I'll put that.
So, and Mr Mayor, just confirming that we're changing that to 2044. I think if Council is happy, give him the benefit of the doubt. Just give him the benefit of the doubt. That might be 1 year difference. Will we push it to 2044 if you're happy with that? Yes,
I think that was what the happy with that, the mover and the seconder? Okay, no, that's all right. Righto, thank you, Linda. Councillor, we've made that change. We have a mover and a seconder. No further questions. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thanks very much, Jack.
Thank you.
11.17, the tender consideration for Capricorn 24 and 25. Good morning, Zach.
How's that? Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, councillors. Good morning, CEO. Merry Christmas. So this first report is the tender consideration for Capricorn for both 2024 and 2025. Now, Capricorn will sit on the 31st of August next year, and the dates for 2025 to be confirmed. A tender consideration plan for our major events helps with the operational and economic efficiencies to be able to deliver these major events that we do, those 5 incredible major events that we put on every year, and that contribute to those 580,000 visitors that we get to our region each year. So for this one, for Capricorn in particular, what we're looking at a tender consideration plan across the Economic Impact Review, which that's IER, which is the one that Tourism and Events Queensland stipulate that you use if they provide you funding. Our entertainment, musicians, visual artists, themed entertainment, marketing, staging, audio, lighting, furniture themed, event catering, food, drink stalls, other ancillary goods for operational success with, like waste generators, fencing, and finally creative production and management. So across all those categories there, the request is that we seek approval from the table to move forward with a tender consideration for Capricorn for both 2024 and 2025.
Thanks very much, Zach. Councillors, questions to Zach on that one? It's pretty straightforward, and again, filling an events calendar is what the Advanced Rockhampton team are all about, and part of that is making sure that we've got the future projects there in place. Councillor May, there's a question.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. Just a comment, if that's all right, through to Zach and the team. Just want to say great job with this event. Zach, over my tenure over the last 3 years, I've been going to it because there's family members that like being involved, and I can't believe every year it's growing and growing, and there's the age group that goes there is so diverse as well, and it's got a really good feel about it, Mr Mayor. So it's a good event. So happy to support.
Thanks, Councillor Mathers. Councillor Kirkland, then Councillor Wickerson.
Okay, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yes, the same, just a comment back through to you, Zach, and to the team, and great to see the team getting in theme and wearing their own costumes. We'd like to see that go next level in the next Capricorn, Zach. You can't wear the same costume twice. That's the rules. Sorry, Councillor Wickerson, yes, you too. But it is that I just want to congratulate the team, because I know that a part of the attractions that you brought, some of the new attractions, the bow and arrow in the centre field and those types of things, have come as a result of your team going outside of local area and visiting other regions and seeing what they are doing in this space. And I want to congratulate you, because you're going the extra mile, and what you're doing is bringing a sense of excellence to this particular event. So thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing what new amazing things you are bringing to us. Shout out there to all of the team. I think Tanya Willett was one of the ones that went and inspected some of the other things. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Councillor Kirkland. Councillor Wickerson.
Thanks, Mayor. Along the same lines as Councillor Kirkland, this event just continues to grow and grow every year, and the amount of costume participants also tends to grow. Initially it was just spectators seeing what this was all about, but now it's just very inclusive and involving with the community, which is good, including our staff, and please don't wear the same costume again. As fantastic as it was, but we just want something a bit fresh and less alarming, so that'd be great. But a challenge out to my colleagues, to also when they attend, you might put a bit of effort in too, just saying. It's
I support that challenge. In fact, I've got a pair of hairy goat leg costumes if anyone wants to borrow it.
And the economic benefit that it brings too, because it's not just our locals that come on shore, and you know the stats on this act that people will come from a wider catchment to see what we've got to offer. And I have seen the one down in Gladstone, we're miles ahead of that, so that's always a good thing.
Thanks, Councillor Wickerson, and again, probably echo the comments of the councillors. I believe the team are doing a fantastic job with that event, and it's got huge potential and it's extremely popular in that space. So good work all round, and great to see that going. So could I have a mover, Councillor Wickerson? You happy to move? Seconder? Evan wants a second. Councillor Smith, I'll put that.
To be honest, I must admit I've never been. The only time I could go, and you had to walk all the way from way down there to the front gate, and I'd just broken my knee the 6 months before, and I couldn't walk. I've always got something on that day, would you believe?
Well, there's a challenge. Yeah, challenge in itself.
I will go next year, but I'm on council one.
You have to now. You second the motion, councillor. So we'll make sure that that said. There's no further questions. I'll move the motion. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, and thanks for that one, Zach. Brings us on to our next item.
So following on, the next report is another tender consideration for the Rockhampton River Festival for 2024 and 2025. This incredible placemaking event is held between 26th and 28th of July next year, and a similar time for 2025. And again, for operational and economic efficiencies, our team request a tender consideration be approved so that we can deliver this incredible event. Across the categories of that economic impact review, that IER, again, that's the data company that Tourism and Events Queensland request us use. Across entertainment, visual arts and performers, themed entertainment, fireworks, light shows, marketing, stage audio, lighting, furniture, ticketed event catering, food, drink, trade and market stall holders, the other goods and services that are around that, waste generators, fencing, traffic management, and finally the creative production and management. They're all the categories that we are requesting the tender consideration for this incredible event. And probably remiss of me, I'm joined today by Eileen Brown, our event coordinator, and shout out to the rest of the team who are back in the office busily getting ready for the New Year's Eve Light Up the Sky event, our final event for the year.
Thanks very much, Zach. Again, it's a fully packed calendar of events, and the staff do a fantastic job, and looking forward to making each of these events bigger and better is what the team's charged with, and one that delivering on. So just on those comments, I'll go to a few questions from the table. I'll go Councillor Kirkland and Councillor Mathers. Councillor Kirkland.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and again, another amazing event this year, and loads us up with expectation, and I think that's got to be one of the things that grows these events, is the fact that they are consistently delivering and improved upon each year. Means that the people who have been before are more than happy and content to come again, and we continue to grow that benefit, that cost benefit to our community and the flow on. With that being said, I would like to ask whether there's scope to research into alternatives to the fireworks, just to potentially look at drone light displays or something utilising our river. I think one year we actually did have a platform out in the river, and we had a light show from that. There's a number of reasons around that. I'm sure that local laws councillor would have received numerous calls about dogs and the disturbance, dogs escaping from yards because it sends them psycho, the fireworks. But more than that, environmentally, I think that we could be seen to be doing our part as a council with regards to changing out from fireworks to something that's quite spectacular. So I was hoping that that could be included in the scope there.
We can certainly take that on notice and look into it. We have looked into drones before, and like the water laser show, other alternatives. A lot of it comes down to cost for delivering those sorts of things. But yeah, we can certainly take that on notice for the future event years.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Kirkland. Councillor Mathers and Councillor Smith.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Kirkland and I are on exactly the same wavelength, which was, and Zach and Eileen, I understand that it's always a budget thing, but you see some of those drone shows now and all some of the light shows, and it's, fireworks are great, but they've just been done so much now, so it's just something I'd love to see us maybe look into or get. So the other thing I wanted to bring up is something I mentioned last year, and I know there wasn't enough time. Because it's called the River Festival, Mr. Mayor, I just would love to include the River more in that, and I think we're talking about maybe having I suggested maybe having a competition where people can put ferry lights or lighting on their boats and then have the boats out in the river. and they could be judged on the best dressed up boat or something. I could just picture like that whole river being full with boats with all lights all over them. I think it'd be pretty spectacular, and that could be something that wouldn't be an expense to us other than maybe running the competition. So just a suggestion.
Great idea, thank you.
No worries.
Thanks for that, Councillor Mathers. Councillor Smith.
You'll be pleased to know I've been to every river festival. Never missed one. I love the river festival, absolutely. And I walked.
Had to walk.
Crutches one year. But every year you have something different, and I suppose you don't want to let the cat out of the bag yet, but are we having something different again this year, you know? The double-decker merry-go-round, you can bring that back any time, because I love riding on that.
We have a lot of incredible ideas to deliver the 2024 Rockhampton River Festival and make it the best one yet. The theme is reflection, because it will be the 10th year. But we have to wait till this tender consideration passes to lock all the things in that we would love to do. So look forward to sharing with you all of our program and the exciting experiences that people can have when they go to next year's event.
Very good.
Well, on that comment, Councillor Smith, would you like to move? Now that you've been there, everyone. So move Councillor Smith, seconded Councillor Kirkland. Councillor Wickerson. Sorry, yep, okay. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Move on to the next one, Zach.
Okay. Mayor and councillors, the next report is a sponsorship report for the Capricorn Food and Wine Festival for 2024 and 2025. Now, this festival is a loved festival by all. This year, when it was on, it attracted 3,500 people, with a quarter of those coming from outside of the region. These events that are put on by third parties are what we absolutely love within council, and we'd love to support those. The more we can get the private sector to bring our riverfront and our region to life, the better. For this event in particular, it's a culinary event. It aligns really well with placemaking and gives both visitors pride in where they live, and residents pride in where they live, and visitors a great experience when they come. We have sponsored this one since its inception back to Rockhampton. This is an every year one. So my request is for sponsorship for this event for $20,000 to be provided to the Capricorn Food and Wine Festival for both the 2024 and 2025 event.
Thanks very much, Zach. Again, it's going to be a very busy year next year with the beef week as well, and really showcasing Rockhampton and what we have to offer in the recreational space and event space. So I think it's really starting to build momentum. Putting Rocky on the radar is really starting to resonate. I've travelled across the state to many events, and just getting huge accolades from people that I run into during that time. So we're really hitting the mark in that space, but that's all part of having a full calendar, and that's what we want to make sure that we maintain. The economic benefit, I'd love to capture the whole economic benefit from that calendar. At some point in time, it would be really great to understand what that means to our region going forward as well, but that's for another day. But really pleased with this one. So I've got a number of questions, so I'll go to the table.
It would probably just remiss of me not to mention that this sponsorship is a budget line item in the budget. It's not for additional funds for each year. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. We'll go to questions. We've got Councillor Kirkland and then Councillor Mathers. Councillor Kirkland.
Councillor Latcham's online. Did you want
Oh, sorry, and Councillor Latcham. So, Councillor Latcham, I'll go with you first, since you're. I didn't pick it up. It's hard to see off the table.
No, it's a bit blending in there. Sorry.
Yep,
Thank you,
you're
Mr.
right.
Mayor. Thanks. Question through to Zach. Zach, I noticed. I mean, this is a great event, a Capricorn Food and Wine Festival. I noticed they've changed their name recently to Capricorn Events. Are you aware of that?
Yes. And part of that is to start replicating the events that they put on here in our region, out west to Emerald, south to Bundy and north to Mackay.
And they do a great job. My question, I guess, is for the $20,000, we try to see improvements each year. Are they just relying on the $20,000 just to secure it in Rockhampton? They don't leave elsewhere, or I mean, the tickets themselves are fairly hefty, and they're a very good premium product. But when you spread it out over the 3,454 people, it's only an extra $6 per person. Really, if they put that onto their tickets, they wouldn't miss it. So what benefit, other than the accommodation stuff, what benefit are we getting for our $20,000?
This event has an economic impact of $123,000 to our local region, and this event did start in another LGA, and so it's important for us to support events, especially well-operated events like this one in our region, and to not only keep it here for the next 2 years, but also to grow it as well.
Okay, well that's very keen to hear those last couple of words. Hopefully they grow it, and it obviously improves from year on year. But it is a great event, and look forward to next year's one. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Latcham. Now, Councillor Kirkland, then Councillor Mathers.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I probably was coming from a little different angle than Councillor Latcham. Firstly, just wanted to absolutely make the comment and echo what the Mayor has said about these large-scale delivery of these large-scale events is actually the continued reliable delivery. Like, there's again that expectation from the community, and they've proven over time that they are drawing people to our region, and that spend is continuing to grow as people choose to stay overnight, etc., go to a lot of other things. So my question is around, firstly, are there any in-kind contributions that are not captured here within this? And second to that, I note that the 20,000 has been the same for the last few years, with no request from the organisers for any CPI increases or anything like that. Obviously, they have to keep delivering the event, and this component helps them to deliver the event to the standard that they have been. And so the costs, I'm sure, are continuing to increase for the organisation to do that. So just checking, firstly, are there any other in-kind contributions from council that aren't captured here?
No additional in-kind contributions. This one is on the riverfront. It uses scheduled cleaning, just like what normally happens. There's the hire of the space, but because it is on that riverfront, all the other costs are captured. Yeah, unlike some of the other events that we have, where there's like field restoration, like for say pop-up polo.
Thank you. So secondary to that then would be that they are actually paying invoices issued by council for the provision of that space?
Yes.
So it kind of balances out, does it?
Doesn't balance out, but there's a commercial agreement there for the hire of the space.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Mathers.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I just want to use the public forum to just remind councillors and CEO that about 8 years or so ago I was employed by the company that is actually running this, even though the Capricorn Food and Wine Festival is a not-for-profit organisation. I don't have any conflict of interest, but I just wanted to remind people. Look, it is a great event, and happy to support it. It's getting very well known throughout the region, and once again, it's a great event to have as a staple every year towards those major event calendar. So, good job.
Thanks, Councillor Mathers. Councillor Rutherford. Oh, sorry. Yep.
Mr Mayor, I guess I was instrumental in bringing this one to Rockhampton, and it was at a time when we didn't have River Festival or any major events, and it was, really sort of set the scene for bringing events back to Rockhampton. And I think Zach hit it on the head when we can encourage outside organisations to run these types of events. While 20,000 sounds like a lot of money, it's not when it takes the pressure off us having to do it, and when we can continue to fill our calendar with these amazing things that people can go and do in our community. They really are worth every cent. Yeah.
You're 100% correct there, Councillor Rutherford, and we had for many years had the comment where, there's nothing happening in Rocky, we'll go to somewhere else. That's done a full 360 now, and people are staying here and people are coming to the region for those events. So that's a great outcome, and one there that we're keen to support going forward. Councillor Smith?
Yeah, comment and a question. With all our events, the young people are enjoying them, and they want to stay here because we have something to do, and that's great to hear that. If you could explain what Councillor Latcham said about the name change. So it still will be called the Capricorn Food and Wine Festival. What has changed in the name?
The event name will stay the same. It's the parent company that they've just rebranded. So the event will still be called the Capricorn Food and Wine Festival. Okay. That's not changing at all. That group also deliver the Big Beer Festival, Oktoberfest, and some other events across the year. So their parent company, they've just changed to be a little bit more CQ-centric instead of just Rockhampton.
Yeah, I was just worried they were changing the name, but I thought people won't know what it is.
Okay, thanks very much, Zach. Look like we've exhausted the questions. So, Councillor Fisher, you wish to move? And Councillor Latcham, do you like to second? Move Councillor Fisher, second Councillor Latcham. Councillor, I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. We'll move on to our next item. Thanks very much, Zach.
So, Mayor and Councillors, the next report is another sponsorship agreement. This one is for the sponsorship of Pop-Up Polo, which is to be held on the 8th of June in 2024. Again, another visitation major event on our event calendar, and that event calendar has 33 events, of which 5 of the major ones our Advance Rockhampton team deliver, plus 2 of the civic ones. The balance of those are delivered by the private sector. And for this event in particular, it's one of my favourites. It's held at Vicky Park. It's going to be a bit of a tight turnaround after beef for this year, but this one certainly brings a lot of people from out of region, as well as lines the pockets, well, that probably doesn't sound right, of local suppliers. So it uses 38 local businesses to deliver this great event. Pop-Up Polo, they say, is the game of kings, and this has been supported by Advance Rockhampton through council since its inception, and my request is that that the table approves for sponsorship of $10,000 cash plus in-kind support to the value of $5,000. And that's for the waste bins removal and reinstallation of the goalposts on the field.
Thanks very much, Zach. Question, Councillor Latcham.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and question through to Zach. Zach, this is another great event in the region. My question is around I know it's always a tight squeeze to get it ready for, well, next year it'll be for beef, but it's always the secondary school rugby league championships held over the school holidays. It's always having to prepare the grounds again, get it up and ready, and it's always been a challenge. But my question is, have we looked at other areas or other ovals or fields that we could potentially avoid that problem? Have we looked down that pathway? Is that something? Is it yourself or Aaron? Maybe is there another option that might be more suitable overall?
Yeah, through the chair. So we've had extensive discussions with the Pop-Up Polo organisers, especially for the 2024 year, backing on the back of beef and the other uses that those fields are having. We did put forward some other suggestions, and it was agreed by them that they would like to continue using the Vicky Park. A major benefit of that is the walkability for logistics back into the CBD. You've got a lot of people that once Pop-Up Polo finishes, they do walk in and enjoy dinner at one of the restaurants along the riverfront. So we have provided some other options, but that location also it's created a little bit of an ant trail that's where you go, and it's on the riverside. And when you get those drone shots of the horses running on the field with the river right beside it, it just shows our region off so beautifully. So yes, we have considered other locations, but the organisers have decided to stay with Vicky Park.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Councillor Latcham. Councillors, Councillor Smith?
I'm not sure whether people go to watch the horses. I think they go for a social. It's like going to the races.
Yeah, and it dovetails into the racing calendar as well. So it's again, we're not all beef cattle, and there's other options there. So it is a great event. One that I haven't attended, Councillor. So it's one for the drawing board as well. Councillor Rutherford.
It is a good event, Mr Mayor, and if I can do a little bit of a an ad spiel here. If anyone really loves polo and they want to see it played at its very best, then head out to Ridgelands. There are the Ridgelands Polo Cross grounds there under lights now, and they have fantastic events. So if you really enjoy this and love the polo, head out to Ridgelands and check it out on full field.
Good plug. But anyway, thanks, councillors. If there are no further questions there, Councillor Mathers, you happy to move?
Yeah, sure.
Councillor Mathers moves. Seconded. Councillor Kirkland. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Brings us on to our last one, Zach. And we'll walk to that report. Thank you.
Okay, final report. This one's very exciting. Council has received correspondence requesting sponsorship, an opportunity to sponsor the 2024 and 2025 Rowing Queensland State School Championships to be held here in Rockhampton. Now, this event is synonymous with our wonderful river, and we have had this event before back in 2018. This event in particular, it actually used to align with the Capricorn Food and Wine Festival. I'm not sure if that was on purpose or not, but it brings about 1,000 athletes plus their families. So we're looking at about 3,000 people that travel here to the region for this particular event. And because it is a state-based comp, over 90% of athletes are from outside the region. Now, this particular event, they're looking at having it back-to-back 2024 and 2025 across those dates in September. And so what I'd like to do is request a sponsorship of this event to ensure its anchor in our region as a real sporting tourism event that's on. A cash contribution of $10,000 excluding GST for each year, as well as there is some in-kind support that is attached to this. Now, in the first year is $31,800, which is for the riverbank reinstatement. Now, that is already budgeted for to happen in this year, and that's happening regardless of this event, but I wanted to just put everything in there, as well as there's $1,800 in the second year for the provision of the waste services and water truck services. So this event is fantastic. Most families come between three to 5 nights, and they fill our hotels, they fill our restaurants, they shop in our retail, and they absolutely love our region. So similar to the Queensland Touch Finals, this is such an incredible sporting event, and I welcome questions about the sponsorship.
Thanks very much, Zach. And again, it's a direction that the table's been heading with sporting destination and putting Rocky on the radar in that aspect as well. Having events like this really do, again, put the conversation and the spotlight on the area when these events are happening. So we can see from this year's the tournaments and the carnivals that we've sponsored are really paying dividends and building a reputation around the region as well. I've got a number of lights on, so I'll go to those questions and then come back to the end of that one. So, Councillor Kirkland.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Zach, I just would really like to understand that $31,800 riverbank reinstatement a little bit more. Can you just flesh that out for me a little, what that is and what it looks like, just so in my mind I can decide, oh, hang on, should this be operational or should it be another department other than Advanced Rockhampton?
It is.
What I'd like to do
I'll just go to
invite Justin to answer that.
Justin can explain that, which it is another department. So thanks, Justin.
Thank you, through the chair, Zach. Obviously, echo everything. It's certainly a great opportunity, and Councillor Kirkland, it's a really good question. And I guess to detail that a little bit more, that $30,000, and as Zach alluded, is an existing operational budget and function that our community asset and facility teams do. It's not an annual activity. So the riverbank, the non-formed area of the riverbank and the ski gardens, it had some, I don't know whether it was capital or when it was done, we did some re-establishment of that. We got some wire meshing and things like that to try and secure that area so it doesn't, obviously it's a natural area, it washes away. It is an entry point and it is a safety implication for the rowers. Day to day, our rowing community use that area every single day, so we maintain that area. And what that $30,000, I guess, consists of is a certain amount of material and sand that gets put into that area to reform that and to improve the safety and the accessibility into the waterway. So for this event and for our operational spend, it's aligned with this carnival, so we get the best outcome for the carnival, and also it supports our community organisations and the day-to-day programming that happens in the rowing space. So, and that was last done, for context. We did that work, I think, in 2020, leading into the last rowing states that we had. So the reason why it's only identified in the first year of the sponsorship, on average it's 2 to 3 years that we get out of that piece of work operationally, all that maintenance activity, before it needs to be done again, essentially.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. So that's why, is it because of the fact that it's this particular, because there's a few other things that happen at that riverbank there, why is it included in this sponsorship, I suppose is my...
It's not included in the sponsorship. It's already in the budget, Councillor. This is just, Zach's just doing it for reference with this event, why it's happening in conjunction with that event, that work.
Okay. It just seems odd that it's mentioned
We
here.
can remove it out of there, Councillor. It's just information for the public.
Just clarifying why it's there, that's all. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Through the Mayor, Councillor Kirkland, it was a request a little while back to include all of the in-kind costs, even if they are already budgeted for in council reports, so that the total amount can be seen. This particular one, though, would still be happening even if we didn't have this event, because we also have like the Australian rowing team, you know, pre-Olympics, pre-World Masters that come here. So that was already scheduled to happen. I just wanted to put it in because it's attached to that. So I could take it out, but full transparency is how I like to present things to the table.
Councillors, I'll be guided. Did you want it in there or out?
I think it shows council's commitment to the event, Mr Mayor.
Okay, leave there. Councillor Smith?
Oh yeah, thanks Mr Mayor. A few years ago, Councillor Fisher and I did a presentation one afternoon, I think it was on the way back. We already had a council event and we called there on the way back, and I was absolutely amazed at the amount of people and kids, and they just loved our river and thought it was just wonderful, even though the hyacinth was all pushed over into a big heap. Probably my question is around the hyacinth, and I know it has nearly stalled the competition in years gone by. Hopefully this year, I think they're going to do a mulching trial, so we mightn't have as much. If we get a run in the river, it's all gone. But I just wondered, have we got plans in place for that? Because I think one year they couldn't put the number of rows out that they were going to because of the hyacinth problem.
I might revert to Justin.
Through the chair, councillor, what I'll do is I'll actually take that on notice to come back to council with a more granular understanding of what that program is. So our Vector team, environmental team, they have certainly, since we had the Rowing Australia team here and that effort around the hyacinth, the challenges that we identified, their program and their weed management has really since changed with the river, and I know it's obviously been very effective based on all reports leading into this year's rowing season. Obviously we do those checks and balances. As far as what that looks like, I'll take that on notice and come back to you just to bring that level of security leading into events like this.
Thanks, Justin. Councillor Mathers and Councillor Rob.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mr Mayor. It's a great event, and another one of these junior events. Junior events are always good because it's mum, dad, grandma, granddad, you know, that sort of stuff that come along, so which is really great for our economy. I did just want to talk about that area, but maybe for Justin, that's happening, that's being repaired along there. Well, that gets used a lot just on weekends for recreational people there with their kids, you know, sometimes the jet skis be tied up there. Will we be remediating from concrete to concrete, so from the rowing right down to the other, you know, concrete area near the boat ramp, or are we doing just in front of the rowing clubs?
Through the chair, Councillor Mathers. So that scope, it actually encompasses from that half stand area in front of the grammarians, from the grammar schools, so on the corner there with the creek entrance, right through. So I have that little inlet and right down. So it certainly does that whole natural area of the bank. That's what the scope has historically done. I will just reconfirm that with community assets and facilities as well, but certainly it does.
Okay, so you're saying upstream across the river.
So to clarify, so you know there's a little creek and inlet as well. That's about midway from the boat ramp down. There's a little creek inlet or a drainage inlet. And then the second portion goes to the hard stand red concrete area.
Okay, right.
So that natural formed riverbank is where that sand and that piece of work will be done to formalise it. Because with the states especially, and with our community organisation and their general use, the states use that full length for the entrance points into the waterway. Our community organisations usually use to the, let me get my geography right here, to the north of that inlet towards upstream. So it will have a dual benefit. And I guess that's why on an in-kind front, we try and bring that to the table to let you know that this will have a direct benefit to this carnival, but it'll also have a direct benefit to our community organisation. So it does do that stretch.
Mr. Mayor, just one more, and thanks very much for that, Justin. I can remember seeing it when we've done it previously, and they do a great job dumping the sand and that sort of stuff there, and it makes it quite inviting. But there's always one area from that little drainage pump downstream to the next concrete dock area, which is probably only 20 metres, but it's all gravel and that sort of thing, and that's where a lot of people, recreational people use as well. I'm just wondering if there's any way that we could,
Councillor, I was looking at
it's only 20 metres, Mr. Mayor.
Thing is in the year, Councillor Kirkland, there's a state budget one when they're looking for small projects, whether there's one there that we could...
Yeah, because it looks so good when they do it,
as a more substantial one. But anyway, we can talk about that in the advocacy space councillors. So you're right, it's a popular area and see it maintained. Okay, Councillor Kirkland.
Mr. Mayor, I don't mean to labour on this, but I'm just feeling that as far as line items go, I understand the transparency and I absolutely applaud wanting to make it clear that we're supportive of these events. As the discussion has continued to unfold, it's multiple events that it benefits, and so it's going to be done, as Justin has said, it would be done anyway, regardless of
Councillor, you're happy to put
the event.
The motion if you wish to remove it?
Well, I think maybe
you can
either remove it
removed.
or illustrate it as a percentage of the overall contribution.
Councillor, I need you to move it if you wish to take it out, because it's I've asked the table and they're clear to have it there. So if you want to move, seek a seconder to take it out, then happy to do that.
I think for proper accounting purposes, because it's more operational, I'd like to see it removed. So could I move a motion to remove the second point here of the officer's recommendation purely as an administrative alteration?
Do we have a seconder?
Let it go then.
No seconder, councillor. So the motion remains as per the officer's recommendation. So for the lapse of for a seconder, and I'm happy to move. And seconded, Deputy Mayor Councillor Fisher. If there's no further questions, speakers for the motion, speakers against. I put the motion. Those in favour. Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, if I could just take leave of the meeting, just to, while Zach's at the podium, just to acknowledge the Gold Award that was received at the Queensland Tourism event for our campaign in Rockhampton Regional Council, which won the Gold Award for the marketing, tourism marketing and campaigns. That's no small achievement, and Zach and the team, I'd just like to pay tribute to the work that yourself and the team have done to put Rocky on the radar as far as that award achievement goes. So thank you, and a round of applause is in hand, I believe. Councillors, now that heads off to the national awards, and that's in March next year. So fingers crossed that we keep putting Rocky on the radar in the national space as well. So again, thank you, Zach, and thank you for those recommendations.
Thank you,
okay,
everyone.
councillors,
Merry
we'll
Christmas.
move on to our next item there, which is the RADF Funding Regional Arts Development Fund for 23-24 Round 1 funding. And thanks very much, Mark. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor. Morning, councillors. Yes, it's that time of year again. Round 1 for RADF. The RADF committee met a couple of weeks ago to go through this. So, 10 applications were received for RADF Round 1, requesting a total amount of just under $50,000. Of those 10 applications, one was deemed ineligible as it didn't meet the RADF criteria outlined in our guidelines. And one application, which we requested more information, withdrew for lack of supporting documentation. That left us 8 applications which were assessed by the committee with a total requested amount of $42,500. Of those 8, 3 applications were deemed eligible and desirable to fund, totalling a funding amount of $6,447.50. So I am here presenting to you the 3 recommended by the RADF committee for funding, and I am asking you to endorse the applications listed in Table A, which are Eastern Dunn, travelling to the Melbourne Art Fair to present their artwork in conjunction with First Draft Art and to give some artist talks. Capricornia Printmakers to learn the rhizomyscreen technique, which is a non-toxic alternative to photo emulsion preparation. And Midpoint Theatre Company presenting the Central Queensland leg of a tour of Grit by Perseverance Street Theatre Company from Gympie. Happy to take questions.
Thanks very much, Mark. We've got a number of lights on, so we'll go to the portfolio spokesperson, Councillor Wickerson. Question.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Firstly, I'm happy to move this, of course, but I just wanted to point out that this shows how we're fairly selective and discerning about it. We don't just try and spread, get rid of the money as quick as possible. So 10 applicants, we've got 3 there. One of them in particular, I want to take note of, is the Rockhampton Youth Orchestra. Had an excellent application, ticked all the boxes, but as we've said before about funding, it's not a recurrent funding. We seed fund these events so that if it's a very similar event, that in the first year we'll get it up and running, but over a number of years, and I think we said this is about the third or fourth.
This was the 4th time
that applicant
they had applied.
RYOU. So again, brilliant organisation, amazing work, but we've tapered off. At this stage, the event should be standing on their own feet, so that even though paying this because it was such a perfect application, it shows that we want to make room for new events to come off and be seeded and inspired to do it. Some of them were a bit lacking in detail, whether that's budget or others, so obviously they get advised to relook at that. They're encouraged to apply again with a more sharpened up application. But the ones that did get up are fantastic. The printmakers particularly is what this is all about. It develops our own artists in, so we bring in experts in a particular field into Rockhampton and teach up our own artists and artisans and craftspeople and whatever to then spread that word out. So it lifts the whole art world. So that's very good. And plus it has the environmental aspects that the traditional photographic screen print making, it uses a lot of chemicals, so this is a new system that has the same effect but much cleaner to the environment, so it's a bit of a win-win. So, and congratulations to our committee as well. I chair it. I don't actually vote on it unless it's a casting vote, but we've got a larger committee than we've ever had, I think, before, and growing, and it's a diverse number of art forms across the community, so not just image artists or photographers, but there's theatre people, there's production people, there's artists, printmakers. So and that shows in the projects that we get up. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks very much, Councillor Wixon, for that detailed update on the program itself. So that's great understanding about how they can reapply and the like. Further questions, Councillor Kirkland.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to ask around, and echoing everything that Councillor Wickerson has said there, around the first applicant, Eastern Dunn's work there, noting that Eastern is an employee, and it's mentioned to be personal development. Would there not be scope within PD expenses to support Eastern's personal development journey here? I note that the funds are just for the freight of the artwork that Eastern will be taking down south. Is that correct, or is it for flight?
So the funding from RADF for Eastern is for Eastern to get to Melbourne Art Fair. First Draft contributing funds as well, and they're contributing funds to support the art getting to Melbourne Art Fair. Easton, we identified as an employee of RMOA purely because they're a council employee. If Easton was an employee with Fleet in council, we would have just noted they're a council employee. The art practice is not intrinsically linked to their role at RMOA.
Okay, thank you. So they wouldn't qualify for payment as personal development within the job role?
No, and the development here is purely for their arts practice, not the work they're undertaking at Ramoa.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Latcham.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just a couple of questions, Mark. Firstly, around the whole program, there's two stages, as I understand, and this first one, it's great to see that they're very discerning as to the quality of applicants, to be able to not accept all of them, and instead of taking the $42,000 worth, only accepted a few. My question in this regard is, when it comes to stage 2 of this grant, there's predominantly about the same amount of money as was this year, that was given out. About $56,000 worth of projects were approved. There's going to be $59,000 left in the kitty. Does that mean, I guess my question is, do you lose it or if you don't use it? So are they more generous on stage 2, or are they just as discerning as they were this time round?
They are just as discerning as they were in the first round. What it means is that there is that amount of money left in the pool up for grabs, but it doesn't change how the committee get rid of the grant. If we, by the end of the RADF financial year, which is September to September, if we haven't expended those funds, they either roll over into the following financial year or they go back to Arts Queensland.
Okay. And is it 50-50 contribution? Is that what it is?
Between Arts Queensland and Council, it is a 50-50, yes. Although it should be noted that this financial year, Arts Queensland contributed a little bit more, a total of 5% as a CPI increase, but did not expect Council to match that.
Okay, thank you. Now, second question, if I may, is regarding one of the applicants, is the one Councillor Kirkland mentioned, Easton Dunn. It mentions in the grant guidelines, it's for seeking financial assistance to travel to enable Easton to deliver the artist talk. So is that just for flights, or is that with flights and accommodation? Because I'm looking at $340 to fly each way to Melbourne from Rocky. So I'm not sure why the $2,500 is there.
Just a sec. I do have the budget here.
Yeah, because I see it's a 4-day event in February.
Yes, flights and accommodation.
Okay, and that's flights at normal, that's not the business class ones for $800 each way?
Yes, I have a budget amount here. If Easton doesn't acquit or acquits the budget and there are funds left over from that, we will get those back from Easton. So it's very much in Easton's interest to make sure that the budget they submitted for $2,500 matches those flights and accommodation, which can be tricky given the dynamic nature of flight prices.
Yeah, well, I guess, does Easton get a choice as to whether he goes business class or just normal like everyone else?
Looks to me like it's normal prices. It's certainly not business class, not for $2,500.
Well,
and it doesn't include accommodation, so.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just asking the question because obviously just needs to be sure that they're being as prudent as possible with the funding on that one. So it's always bit of a worry when it's our own employees. And it's great. Easton is, by looking at the work that's been done, Easton has done, is a talented artist, and it's great to see the amount of work that Easton's doing. So, yeah. Okay, and I just want to ask those few questions, whether 2,500 was the right amount.
Correct, yeah.
Thanks very much. Councillor Smith?
Oh, yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I was just a little bit concerned that 4 applicants took the trouble to put in an application. They must have been eligible, because you've got one was ineligible sort of previously and it was taken out. But these 4 must have been eligible, but they missed out. So do we sit down with them to explain why they missed out and to encourage them to apply again, or what happens to these people?
So all the non-successful applicants sent a letter from myself as the RADF liaison officer, and in that letter I compile feedback from the RADF committee, and I provide that feedback to the applicant. And if it's appropriate, I ask the applicant to apply again, but sharpen their pencil on a few details. So, yeah, it's not all negative. Some applicants we tell them when this just isn't the right project for you, and you need to seek funding from alternate areas. And where it's appropriate, I will look up alternate funding sources for that person that are more appropriate and push them in that direction. But yes, they are all given feedback.
Yeah, thanks for that. I used to be on a RADF committee, and I know people found the the application form a bit daunting.
On the other side of that, when people are applying, we do offer assistance. So myself and Gina, my assistant in the production area, we provide assistance to those putting applications together. So if someone is struggling to put an application together, they can come and see us. We'll sit down with them and go through the application and make sure they have all the details in there. We do encourage people to submit their applications early so that we can identify if they're missing letters of support, or if the letters of support aren't accurate, or if the budget doesn't work out, or isn't balancing. We can then meet with that applicant and help them adjust their budgets and do these things properly. So we do offer that service.
Thanks very much, Mark. Okay, councillors, that's exhausted the questions. Move Councillor Wickerson. Can I call for a seconder, please? Councillor Mathers. I'll put that. Councillors, those in favour? Those opposed? Motion is carried unanimously. Thanks very much, Mark.
Thank you.
Brings us on to our 11.23. Quite a large agenda, councillors. We're into the 2-3s now. It's building up. So environmental, and equally as important though, the environmental sustainability policy and proposed amendments. And I'll hand over to Christine. Good morning, Christine.
Good morning, Mayor and councillors. This report presents the revised environmental sustainability policy for council consideration and adoption. It's been about 4 years since we revised this policy, so it was well and truly time. Key amendments that you'll see within the document include updates to secondary documents, definitions and guiding principles. This is really to address the significant changes to associated policy and legislation at both the state and national level. There's also a fully revised policy statement that's ensuring direct alignment with Council's adopted sustainability strategy, and finally a change to the policy owner to bring that in line with Council's structure. So I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Christine. Councillor Kirkland, Portfolio spokesperson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Christine, and to the team that have worked this through, and having read it, very happy to move that it be adopted. I would also like to ask that for future addressing in this, that there is a little bit more emphasis around our water security. I note that there's just a very broad statement around water management there, Council endeavouring to make efficient use of the water and to reduce the impact of the wastewater discharge. So I would love to see a conversation, see if there's an appetite from officers to actually flesh that out and be a little bit more specific, and certainly place more emphasis on council's position, environmental position around the sustainability of our water network. Just putting that out there, but happy to move. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Kirkland. Move, Councillor Kirkland. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Wickerson. If there's no further questions, I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Christine.
Thank you, Mayor.
We have our next item,
One
the
more for me.
Community Energy Upgrade Fund, a grand opportunity. And Christine, if you present that report, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So this report outlines a grant opportunity available as part of the Australian Government's Community Energy Upgrades Fund. So the fund will provide grants for up to 50% of eligible project costs, really for upgrades at existing local government facilities. Council officers have considered a wide range of opportunities for this particular grant, and what we had a look at actually was, in terms of the best fit, was the Second World War Aquatic Centre, also known as the Southside Pool. So future budgets have already been allocated towards works at this site as part of Council's Community Assets and Facilities Solar program. Securing additional grant funding would enable Council to progress both solar and battery storage at this site, and will basically free up capital for Council to invest in other energy upgrades. So today I'm seeking your approval to submit a funding application under the Commonwealth's Energy Upgrade Fund for an eligible project at Southside Pool.
Thanks very much, Christine. Councillor Fisher, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well done. I think this was a project that not only fits those criteria as well, but it's a good program for the community to see. So commend you for that, and I'll support, really keen to support it.
Councillor Kirkland, question?
No questions, just happy to move it. I think echoing Councillor Fisher's sentiment, very good opportunity for the community to see what can be done proactively to reduce costs of running these facilities. So thanks, Christine. You've been a strong advocate in this space and continue to be so. So thanks for jumping on board this opportunity.
Move Councillor Kirkland, seconded Councillor Fisher. Again, hopefully a successful outcome with that lodgement. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thanks very much, Christine.
Thank you, Mayor and Councillors. As always, it's a team effort and appreciate your support.
Thank you. Thanks very much for that. Council, we'll move on to 11.25, the Zoo Koala Browse Plantation for the Capricorn Correctional Centre. This looks like a good report, and I'm sure there'll be some happy koalas. Fresh food. And good morning, Liz, and thank you for your report.
Good morning, Mayor and Councillors. Two reports this morning. The first one up is we've been in discussions with the Capricorn Corrections Centre about establishing a koala plantation. You probably remember probably 12 months ago we were in discussions with CQU about establishing the koala plantation on their site. Unfortunately, those negotiations did fall over. We've been investigating other sites since with not a huge amount of luck. And we've now started negotiations with the Corrections Centre, and it looks like it might have been a blessing in disguise, the other sites falling over. What we're looking at with them is using their site. It's already cleared, it has water, it's flood-free, and they will do most of the labour side of things in establishing the plantation, maintaining it, and also harvesting. So our contribution would be to provide the trees, the irrigation, effectively the products, and then a supervisor to oversee the prisoners while they're installing the trees and the irrigation for us, in assistance with their trade instructors. So the trade instructors at the prison will be responsible for the prisoners, but our experts will be there to give them the advice. We would, with ongoing maintenance, their prisoners would maintain the plantation, but we would organise our experts to go out once a month or once a fortnight, whichever we agree and however long is needed, to go out and do inspections to make sure it's been maintained to the quality that we need, so we don't lose the ability to harvest like we have with previous plantations that haven't been maintained properly. And then our guys can just pop out and collect the browse once we're ready to harvest. We'll just put up a shade shelter. The prisoners will harvest, pop the browse in a tub of water in the shade shelter, and our guys can just swing by and pick it up. So all in all, it will save us a lot of money in the establishment cost. Our initial budget, when we were looking at establishing it ourselves, we were looking at around $140,000. That's been reduced significantly, and we've already purchased the trees and the irrigation, so fairly minor investment moving forward. And then from the maintenance side, we had worked out if we had to have a full-time plantation, or not full-time, sorry, a 0.5 of a head count for a plantation manager to maintain it. If we did it ourselves, it would be about $65,000 per year, including on costs. Doing it this way with the prison, we'll be looking at the plantation manager / inspector, whatever we're going to call them, that goes out periodically. We'll be looking at about $10,000 per year, including on costs. So a significant savings there. I think we've all discussed the reason we need the plantation. Happy to go into that again if you would like, but if you're all happy with the understanding of why we need the plantation, I won't bore you with that again. So what we're looking at today is hopefully your support to endorse a memorandum of understanding with the prison. They will be getting their commissioner sign off. Their assistant commissioner has already signed off on it, and it's been presented to the commissioner. So once that comes through, if we have your endorsement as well, we'll proceed with an MOU and commence planting in the new year, and hopefully harvesting, depending on how quickly the plants grow, in 2027, hopefully.
Thanks very much for that report, Liz. I'll firstly go to the portfolio spokesperson, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and thank you to Liz and the team. What an amazing outcome. You know, I think, yeah, sometimes everything happens for a reason, and we were quite excited about the CQU site, but, you know, this has come out even better, and thank you for the great work. I believe you've had a lot to do with this one. It really is good, and, you know, sending our staff, we've been sending staff out for koala fodder for a very long time now, so to have something that is reasonably close and consistent is really just a fantastic outcome. So happy to move when we get to that.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I think it's on so many different levels that it's a good outcome. Councillor Kirkland's question.
Thanks, Mr Chair. Switching around from Mr Chair to Mr Mayor, sounds the same. Sorry about that.
Chair,
yeah, Liz, thank you so much for the work that you've done on this, and it's got some great outcomes, certainly for not only the koalas but the staff, and just overall functionality of what you're providing there at the zoo. I have a couple of questions around the actual program for the correctional centre, and whether or not those prisoners will embark on traineeships or something, Cert 4s or Cert 3 or whatever, in management with regards to the tasks that they're undertaking. Is that opportunity also there for them? Have you explored that? Has that been discussed?
Through the Chair, yes. That is one of the things we have discussed, that they do want to look at putting it through some vocational training, so the prisoners do come out with some qualifications at the end. How they do that is up to them, but it is something that they do definitely want to tie in with all of this. So it's not just benefiting us and giving the prisoners something to do, it's actually letting them gain some skills that they can take back into society. So it is definitely something they want to look at.
It's a wonderful collaborative effort, because it's, you know, it's an illustration. The ratepayers are helping to give those opportunities back to the prisoners at the correctional centre, but also the correctional centre themselves contributing back into community. So it's a two-way street. It's a really good outcome. I do have another question around the koalas. How many koalas do we currently have at the zoo?
We currently have 2. We have one empty enclosure that I haven't been prepared to fill since I've been here, because we struggle enough to find enough feed for the 2 that we've got. With the number of trees we're looking at planting, it would allow us to house up to 4. So potentially we could fill the third enclosure and potentially breed.
So following on from that question, still to do with that question, that would then mean that's about $91 a day to feed those koalas, plus the ongoing staffing and fuel costs. Is that, I'm understanding and acknowledging you've greatly reduced that.
Yes.
I'm not questioning that, I'm just wanting to get it clear in my mind. That, for my calculation, is about $91 a day plus staffing and fuel costs. Further illustrating the consideration down the track for council to validate why that charging to go to the zoo is going to go towards helping to pay for these types of expenses that continue to increase day after day, and with every new animal that comes on board at the zoo, that's extra expense. So
Yes.
I think this is going to lay a good foundation for validating that particular argument moving forward. Thanks so much, Liz, for bringing this to the table.
Thank you.
Councillor Smith?
Yeah, I was sort of interested in them being so fussy, because I know when we looked at they've got to have certain eucalypt. When we looked at that plantation near Rugby Park there, and someone said, oh, they don't like those trees anymore, you've got to get others. And I noticed you collect it from the side of the roadway in Rocky and Livingston. That's sort of like council sharing, helping one another. Do you ever go into private properties? Because a lot of people have got trees that they probably gladly get rid of.
Through
you
the
just
chair.
trim them, you're obviously not cutting them down, you just trim all the branches off.
Yes,
And I just wonder if you go into private properties, because along the side of the road can be a bit dangerous sometimes.
We do with some if we have permission to access, but one of the problems you've got is you can't harvest off the big tall trees. They've got to be small, otherwise our guys can't reach them. So that's where having a plantation where they're pollarded at a certain height assists. So you drive along and you see a lot of eucalypt, but we can't get to the tip, the freshly grown leaf at the end. So we've got to find all those little ones that we can harvest from. So
Yeah, so
that's
is it narrow leaf or broadleaf?
Depending on the type of
Okay.
eucalypt.
Yeah, it's interesting, because
yeah.
a lot of people would gladly get rid of their broadleaf ironbark.
But it's only the very fresh, the very, very fresh, the mature leaf they won't eat. They'll only eat the green, fresh, juicy tip at the end.
In other words, they don't like old trees.
I suppose if you're only eating leaves all day, you'd only want fresh ones. You wouldn't want the old ones either. Anyway. Anyway, we've had a lesson on koalas this morning. Councillors, that's exhausted all the questions there. We have a mover, Councillor Rutherford, seconder, Councillor Kirkland. I'll put those in favour. Those opposed, motion's carried unanimously. Liz, can I just say I think that's a fantastic opportunity there to save some money, save our council staff out foraging,
Yes.
and again, hopefully provide some meaningful work for inmates at the correctional centre as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to our next item, which is 11.26, Zoo and Rockhampton Zoo Management Policy. Thanks very much, Liz.
Mayor and councillors, this is coming back to the table after we had a workshop a few weeks ago. I know some of you couldn't make it, but for those of you that were able to make it, we did make a couple of amendments as we discussed. So section 5.1 under background, the very last point there, point F, was around the discussions of reporting back to council about zoo matters. So we didn't want to be too prescriptive there because every circumstance is going to be so different. You don't necessarily want to know about a little lizard getting an operation on its eye, for example. So we've put that under Alicia and Aaron's discretion here as to what is to be communicated and brought back to the table. We also split out the section where we had community engagement and education. So section 5.2.6 under community engagement, we've really drilled down more into, I guess, the business side and the alignment with council objectives. So I thank Councillor Rutherford, I think it was, who brought that up, that needed a bit more attention. I think it was something that we overlooked focusing on the animal side, and I think that is a really important part, so I'm really glad we've added that in there. The other query, I think it was you, Councillor Mathers, that brought up was about the revision time. I did check with Legal and Governance, and it is on the register for 4 years. They said they don't place it on the policies anymore because they're public documents, and if we are running a little bit late with that, it just gives us a little bit more wriggle room. So, but it is on the register for 4-year review. I don't know if you would like me to go through all of this again, because I know some of you weren't able to make it to the workshop, or if you're happy to put forward questions or endorse it, I'm happy to follow your lead there.
We'll take a few questions as we walk through, Liz, and we'll see where that
Sure.
takes us. Questions, Councillor Kirkland.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just with 5.2.9 E, I note that you say that around the animal's health or quality of life, you go by the ZAA's euthanasia policy and the zoo's euthanasia approval procedure. Is it necessary for our zoo to also have a policy around euthanasia, or is it just that that approval procedure is enough?
The approval, through the Chair, the approval procedure does go into a lot of detail. It's based fundamentally off the ZAA, the Zoo and Aquarium Association euthanasia policy. It's currently sitting with Workforce and Governance to sit under this. So Aaron and Alicia have reviewed that in a lot of detail. A lot of thought and consideration has gone into it around how we comply with ZAA's requirements as well as our requirements, and I guess considering public perception around euthanasia as well, but also keeping in mind animal welfare. That's our first priority. So I feel the procedure is sufficient from going through with Alicia and Aaron through that. I feel it is sufficient.
Excellent, thank you.
Councillors, further questions? Councillor Rutherford as the portfolio spokesperson.
Happy to move, Mr. Mayor. Thank Liz once again. Thank you for the opportunity for workshopping it, and for taking on board the comments that came out of that workshop. It's greatly appreciated. So happy to move, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks very much, Councillor Rutherford. We have a move, we have a seconder. It's been workshopped, and I take it from no further questions there that we don't require to go into detail there, Liz. Seconded, Councillor Kirkland. If there are no further questions, I'll put it. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thanks very much for that report, Liz.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor, I might call for a move that we take a recess and resume the meeting at 11:15. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine. Everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line. Ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine. Everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line. Ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine. Everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line. Ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine. Everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line. Ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Thank you, and welcome back, councillors and officers. Firstly, I'd like to move that we resume the council meeting. Happy to move. Seek a seconder, Councillor Fisher. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Councillor, we have late items for the ordinary council meeting. 11.27, which is the Central Queensland QRAP, and a report there that's presented. And I'll ask Justin to present that report on a way forward for Rockhampton Regional Council. Thanks very much, Justin.
Good morning, Mayor and councillors. So this report seeks a position from council on Rockhampton Council's continued participation in the QRAP initiative, which is being delivered by CQ Rock. Councillors may recall that a couple of years ago, CQ Rock entered QRAP, which is a industry and council-led but state government-funded program that looks at collaboration and partnership in the water sector. For the last couple of years, CQ Rock has been developing a work plan and a number of projects across a number of different areas to support, I suppose, water reform and greater partnership in our region. Some of those projects look at a number of different things, including skills development, workforce, as well as greater collaboration. One of the projects in particular, Project 16, is looking to explore 3 alternative regional institutional models, which are outlined in the report, but they are a strategic partnership, commercial business unit, and a multi-council controlled entity. That last one, in looking to explore a multi-council controlled entity, CQ Rock intends to pursue a region-wide joint authority. What that would likely mean is a single water entity for the Central Queensland region, providing water services and taking, I suppose, those responsibilities away from council. In recent months, Rockhampton Council, as you'll be aware, has provided feedback to the group about our position on that, including letters from the Mayor to the Chair and Secretary of CQ Rock. There has been some further discussion amongst the group, and there has been some acknowledgement of our position and an agreement to look at an amended work plan and terms of reference. However, there has been a clear indication from the remaining parties at CQ Rock that they would like to explore that region-wide joint authority. And so we're seeking a position from Council today that will help inform the upcoming board meeting. I would just flag, although it is detailed in the report, a couple of impacts or implications of a region-wide joint authority. You know, that could include loss of ownership and control over our strategic assets like water treatment plants as well as the Rockhampton Barrage, loss of ownership and control over our water allocation, potential loss of autonomy in setting water charges and future increased costs to Rockhampton ratepayers, as well as a fairly significant impact on our workforce and organisational structure. Since also writing the report, the meeting has now been set for this Friday. So as detailed, we have provided 3 options for councillors to consider, and should council endorse one of those options today, that will help inform CQ Rock delegates from Rockhampton, being the Mayor and Deputy Mayor, at the upcoming board meeting.
Thanks very much, Justin. I endorse this report. It's one there that we could not have been more clearer about our position about a regional water authority, given that our community has paid for the barrage and our own water infrastructure and our staff through Fitzroy River Water. We have made it clear that we are not at that level or interested in that level because of our own council priorities and interests. We were part of the QRAP process to look at how we could work collaboratively with our neighbours in regards to purchasing of bulk purchasing of materials and chemicals, and how we could assist in that space through the QRAP process, but also staff education and technical training and how that could work as well. But as far as entering into a regional wide water authority, that was never on the table, and we've had to demonstrate that time and time again, not only at the LGAQ conference, but through letters to the chair of the CQ Rock to inform them of Rockhampton Regional Council's position. Subject to that, there has been a dedicated push to continue with a regional water authority, which we need a position on to take back to the board on Friday's meeting. So hence the report to the council table there to give direction on what myself and Deputy Mayor can speak at that, communicate our position at that point once again. Questions, councillors? Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Totally acknowledge your concerns here, and just a question, if I could. And I don't want to hamstring you, and I'm worried that if we were to choose a middle ground here, and you get to the meeting and find that it has gone really, really pear-shaped, and you think we should step out completely, that you're bound by this motion. So I do wonder whether there is something that talks about, you know, our protecting our assets as being our primary objective, and giving you the latitude of working through that meeting as it happens without being hamstrung by something, because we don't know what's going to happen at that meeting.
No, and I believe there'd be a second option. If that was the case, then I'd be bringing it back to the council table to work at a way forward, whether it's to deal with QRAP or CQ Rock for another position, if that's the case. And I believe that having an option there will give us that authority to be able to put our case clear at that meeting on Friday, and determining on what happens from that, from the outcome from that, can guide us on where we go. Look, this council and my role as mayor has been to work collaboratively in the space with our neighbours and building partnerships that can benefit us all. But clearly, when there's a direction that's not going to benefit the major council in the region, the other councils need to take heed of those comments, and having that position clearly endorsed from the table will give us that ability to take that forward through that group. Hopefully that they see the reason for council's position, and we're not called to that. But the fallback would be to come back to our next council meeting if there is a change from that meeting on Friday. I've got a number of lights on, so I'll go around the table. Thanks, Councillor Rutherford, for that question. Councillor Wickerson.
Oh, thanks, Mayor. No, I agree with you. I think it's always better to be in the tent, even though it's going to get probably a bit heated here and there. But as a last resort, you should always have that option of saying, okay, look, we're not getting anywhere with this, so you can leave the tent. But as a last resort, I think we've got so many other things in the fire besides just the water board that they're looking at setting up, that we don't want to grill that whole thing, because there'll be other things that we can work on collaboratively going down the track a bit. But certainly as far as options, 2 with maybe a sub-option of 3 to get out if we need.
Thank you. Councillor Mathers and Councillor Kirkland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I've done as much reading as I can to try to get my head around this, to try to get a real understanding of it, because, I believe moving forward, as I think everyone does, water's going to be our most precious commodity. It's going to be something that's really important to us. I'm very much the same as Councillor Wickerson in regards, so I think we need to be in the tent in everything we can in collaboration, as I know you are as well. From what I've been reading, from what I can see, the concern that I have, Mr. Mayor, is that if we are still involved in this and the studies go ahead and the information is put forward, we are part of that, which could tell the state government that we are on board with it because we've still been involved in it. And that concerns me, that maybe decisions could be made before we even know about it, and it's gone too far.
And it warranted, and I believe that's the case. Evan, did?
I'll let the councillors go.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
but so, I suppose, look, all I'm trying to say is, and I don't know, but my gut is telling me that I'm thinking we should remove ourselves from the, from this decision-making process, or not the decision-making process, but from the process altogether. And only that at that point we can say we've been at arm's length to it, and that those decisions have been made.
Councillor, and again, it's similar to Councillor Rutherford's concern, and I believe that we have that opportunity. And I'd be putting forward that we go with option 2 to exclude Project 16 out of the QRAP Rockhampton Regional Council support for Project 16. That gives us the ability then to still stay in the tent, but if there is a change, then we have the opportunity to come back to the council table to take the next step from what that could potentially mean. I understand what you're saying is that it looks like we've endorsed it, but we've been clear, especially at the LGAQ conference, and again with this meeting on Friday, stating our position clearly. So it's up to the neighbouring councils to understand where we stand on this one, and that will be guided from that meeting what our next steps would be, and that could potentially be at our next meeting in January.
And Mr. Mayor, I totally understand where you're coming from with that, but my only concern with it is, haven't we already done that? Haven't we already made it quite clear where our standing is? Haven't we already done that, and these decisions are still being made over and above us anyhow? So I'm just wondering, if we just say we're removing ourselves from item 16, we've already said that we don't endorse it, that we don't agree with it. I just don't know whether the QRAP committee will take that on board or not, but I'm happy to be led by you. You're the one dealing with these.
And Councillor, as part of the CQ ROC, it's about collaboration and working in partnership with our neighbours. So I think this, by option 2, really clearly states our position, and having that endorsed from the council table, that sends that message for that meeting on Friday. If that's the path that the other councils choose not to understand our position, then that really gives us the ability to come back and for another meeting to clear a way of going forward. I think it's a step process and how we get to the end result. Because I'd hate to see it get to a point where those waters are muddied because of this issue. As Councillor Wickerson has said, we've got so many other opportunities for a region going forward that we need to be working in collaboration with our neighbours in, and that's the approach I want to take this council on. But just mindful that there are issues there that we have near and dear to our own heart, and our ratepayers and our workforce, that we need to make it clear that that's not the position that Rockhampton Regional Council will take. Councillor Rutherford, sorry, just before we go to the other question.
If that's all right with you, Councillor, just clarification on what you said, in that we have an opportunity a little bit later, but I wonder with caretaker mode, is this one of those things that we cannot deal with?
This wouldn't fall within the caretaker provisions of that. So, and I would say that all other councils with good governance, you wouldn't deal with it during the caretaker period anyway. So I wouldn't see that any decision go to the CQ ROC board, or any decision requiring the CQ ROC board shouldn't go ahead during that caretaker period. And I don't believe there is any CQ ROC board meetings between now and then. I'm not sure. There might be one. But this wouldn't form part of it.
But does the QRAP process continue while we're in mode? And
yes, it does.
And are we at risk because we can't?
No, I don't.
The QRAP is still going on, and
I don't
we
see
are.
Justin, you might be able to give some answer to that.
Just to that point, if I could maybe draw councillors' attention to option 2 and just the wording there in developing the report and being conscious of some of these issues that have been raised. It says to remain in the QRAP initiative, withdraw from Project 16 and any associated project which supports a region-wide authority. To that point exactly, that there are some projects that are still being developed and finer details being decided. So I suppose in developing that option, the idea was to have a principle-based position from council that enables the mayor and deputy mayor as the delegates to act.
So if I could, just the part that I was going to elaborate on is that, so effectively the work plan as outlined for 2023, amended or not amended, still includes Project 16 in its current form, which was one of those models, is that multi-regional water or multi-council owned water entity. So at this stage, the mayor, deputy mayor couldn't support that in its current form, the work plan. They'd have to go away and be reworked. And in relation to the terms of reference, we'd have to assess whether or not that would form part of any other, would form part of any work that would contribute towards a region-wide joint authority. And at this stage, I believe it probably does have some bearing on that. So we'd have to have a very good discussion around that, whether or not we do participate in that as well.
So do you get to be our spokesperson once we're in caretaker mode?
The mayor still is our spokesperson. So the decision, council's already made this decision, so that sits out there as the live decision, and any board direction, decision making that sits outside there will reflect this current position of the council outside the caretaker period. I don't believe any of the decisions made by the board or anything falls within the caretaker provisions as well, but I think it's just probably good governance that it shouldn't be raised anyway. But the council has a position outside of the caretaker provision, so I'm not too concerned about it.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Councillor Kirkland, for allowing that supplement question. Councillor Kirkland, question.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and listening to everything that has been discussed around this prior to today, but also including today, listening to yourself, Mr Mayor, and absolutely commend you for standing up for our region on this particular issue. Councillor Wickerson highlighting the importance, as well as you, Mr Mayor, of collaboration and being in the room. We've learnt what happens when you're not in the room. Things do get done and decided, and then we're playing catch up afterwards to try and to fix things. So we want to be in the room, and I think that the option 2 here encaptures that, it encapsulates that. I was just wanting to ask if you could just again go over the, I suppose, with option 2 in mind, the advantages gained around pulling out of that is I suppose we've gone over it a little bit, so, but just any disadvantages that you see. I'll go that way. Any disadvantages that you see from us pulling out of this Project 16 or any of the other options? Yeah.
Through the chair, Project 16 is to, I suppose, explore a region-wide joint authority. So, you know, it would provide, or certainly as we understand it at the moment, it would provide some fairly detailed insight to councils, and I would go so far as to say recommendations. Probably in where the work plan in terms of reference have been recently, it probably would presume that we were looking to set up that region-wide joint authority. So that's probably where we've come to now. Evan, who's been involved in the steering group, might be able to provide some further insight.
Yeah. So part of Project 16, there's 3 projects being identified, or 3 models being proposed to be looked at. One is a strategic partnership model. One is, I have 4 fingers up with 3 projects. Strategic partnership, commercialised business unit, and the regional-wide entity. Now, council's already made a call on the regional-wide entity. That's one gone. Comes to a commercialised business unit, we've got one. So down there. So effectively, we've got one model that RRC is really interested in, which is the strategic partnership, which is, yes, very much supportive of that where council sits. But it's what hangs off it is the parts of it. So if council doesn't want to do one and is already done in 2, well, where's the benefit of Project 16 for that? So I know that could support other councils around the place, looking at commercialised business unit, and well and truly happy for that to proceed. But overall, you know, we're looking at one model for where we are.
So if I may, just to be clear then, so by withdrawing from Project 16, do we also withdraw from the opportunity of that strategic partnership? We do. So that's...
that you can always, other regions within QRAT regions within Queensland don't actually, even though they're at a higher maturity level, don't talk about regional-wide water entities or anything else. They're talking about more collaborations, whatever else. Or you could fall back to maturity level 4. Which is around that collaboration and so forth sitting in there. So there is other options available. All the other projects that sit within the QRAT work plan are fine. We're happy with those. We're happy to work with that strategic partnership. The council's got a position on the region-wide entity. We're not there, so why progress with that one in Project 16? If we're not interested in one, we're not interested in 2, and we've only got one there to do. So
It's gone to the top. We were happy to work our way through the steps, but it's gone from here to here without this bit in the middle. So we're not supportive of that, so we're asking to come back and work through those, and happy to be in that space, but we're just nervous that we're not, if we get to that level and we're not supportive of it, then it's out of our control, and we've made that clear. It's regrettable that we're at this point, but it's a clear indication that that's where the group's going, where we're just making our line in the sand to say this is where we're at. Happy to work collaboratively in other spaces, but as far as our own water authority, we already have that in place, and it's right. It's only right on our behalf of our local residents and community and workforce that we make that position clear.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I do have another
question.
Sorry,
another question.
Sorry.
Yes.
And it's probably to Angus. I'm just wondering around the positioning of this, does it affect our being stakeholders and being a part, and I expect it won't, but I just want to be sure, of the CQ Regional Water Assessment and the review of the Fitzroy Basin plans all around water, because we've said we don't want to do this, does that affect our position, our position to speak to those documents that are being worked on?
Yes, certainly. Certainly, I wouldn't see it affecting that. We are a water service provider and a ROL holder in our own right, so we certainly wouldn't be excluded from those processes, at least from my perspective. So it's
Excellent, and that's what I expected, but I did wonder whether there would all of a sudden become a negative vibe in the room because we didn't do this. They're going to start pushing back on anything that we present as options within those discussions.
No, we're still saying option 2 is still saying we're part of the QAP process. We just don't want to go to that level of maturity. The other thing is that we've got a water allocation there that we've got need to be very mindful of and protect going forward. 100%. And we just don't want to get into a position where that's taken out of our control 100%. By another organisational group that can have the right to our water pricing, our water future, and our infrastructure and our workforce. So on a number of levels, Rockhampton Regional Council has got real concerns about the path that's being taken.
Yeah, agreed.
Thanks, Councillor Kirkland. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, probably for councillors, the process there went off the rails when they stopped to follow that process of QAP maturity levels. And I think this is where I got very frustrated. We're level 1, level 2, level 3, and then level 3 morphed into level 5. And, looked at almost a fait accompli of what some thought it was, not actually going through the process. Now, since I've had, knowing some of the councillors there that are on the Whitsunday Mackay Alliance, also there on the North Queensland ROC, they are following the levels, each one, and working through it. This has not happened with CQ ROC, and I think this is where the problems are starting to align. They've, for some reason, seen one option, but haven't gone through the basic collaborations, the advanced formal collaborations, before they start to put up a regional pilot. So this has been flawed for a little while, and I think this is why we've got to make a stand.
To be fair though, that was a discussion at the CQ ROC, but it wasn't in the detail. I think it was one that had been just a report that come through and not really explained in detail to the council's part of that CQ ROC, and that's probably some of the frustration you get with the CQ ROC, that the information is not filtered back to the councils on the direction with some of these major steps that are taking forward. That said, we're just making sure our position is stated clearly. We've done that on a number of occasions, but they're still choosing to go there. So this is the path forward to how we resolve that going forward. Councillor Smith, questions? Thanks, Councillor Fisher.
Yeah, questions and comments. I'm really concerned about this, and I just wondered, when does the CQ ROC actually vote on it? Because we'll be the old one out, obviously, and if that happens, what happens then?
Different to where we were with the defence strategy. 3 councils were part of that strategy, and through the RDA as well. But the other councils that weren't part of it were happy to support. This is a different scenario. Not all councils are supportive of this. There are other councils on the ROC that don't support the direction that's going as well. That's the total flip to where everyone was in support of the defence strategy, where this water strategy has opposition to it from a number of councils, where that's the challenge that we're facing now that's going forward. Whether those other councils can outvote us will be a real crunch point on where our position goes on Friday, and that will dictate our next step from where we go.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that the state government will come in and do it anyway, like the same as they did down south. Like about 15 years ago, they made all these water authorities down south, took over people's dams and everything, and I'm just worried they're going to do it anyway.
That is the concern where we're at, and we want to make it clear, and that's why we're stating our position today, that we don't support that approach, And we're happy to work in collaboration about how we can, materials and resource sharing and looking at the water and waste space. But as far as an entity there that governs our water and our direction, it's not in our interest, and one that we're clearly stating our line in the sand, and that's where we're at today.
I'm just concerned, like, because Central Highlands put that motion up at the LGAQ conference, but I sort of don't, worried about what Gladstone might be thinking as well, because, they're sort of they're going to be getting water from us, and they probably would like a bit more.
Yeah, it's the water. The water's not all ours, Councillor. That's the thing you've got to be mindful of, and that's the other area that we've got to be cognizant of. We have our own allocation and our own distribution network. We've just got to be clear that we need to work collaboratively going forward. But that said, we've got to do it in the own interests of our own ratepayers and our own workforce as well.
Yeah,
so that's why we're putting this forward, that we have some control on where we're going. We want to be part of that going forward. So today's decision will allow us to take that next step forward about where we go, working more collaboratively in the region.
So just another question. So is every council deciding how they're going to come back and vote? Like, they all have the same information?
So what is proposed at the CQ, what would be, I believe, it's still probably the outcome of this meeting that's being watched intently now, is that there's two things going to go to the board for discussion because the CEOs can't agree on it. One will be the work plan, the 23-24 work plan in the current form, which includes Project 16 and those three models, of which Rocky's not interested in two of them. So that work plan isn't what I believe council's position is. So that's one vote, and the next vote will be around the terms of reference for financial, asset management and HR review, of which that's the CEOs have agreed to modify the words in there to take out the regional wide water entity, refer back to maturity levels 1 to 5. But as I previously said, does that form part of information that would support decisions in the future around a region-wide water authority? And so we're probably between now and Friday, we need to get that information and then make a determination so that the Mayor and Deputy Mayor know that position. So that's the meeting, so it's two items.
Yep. Thanks, Councillor. If there's no further questions, I'm happy to move option 2. And seconded Deputy Mayor, Councillor Fisher. Councillors, the QRAP program should be about councillors working together, not by a select few trying to run agendas that we believe are not in the interests of our community. So having option 2 still allows us to be in the discussion about how we can work collaboratively about what the intention of the QRAP program is, but not taking to the maturity level that we don't believe our ratepayers and residents would be supportive of going forward. So on that note, is there any speakers against the motion? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. That gives us a clear position for Friday's board meeting. Thank you. Okay, councillors, we move on to further reports in the agenda. We have a number of councillor discretionary fund applications coming through. As we get to this time of the year where there's a number of requests that come through subject to a different year, that with an election it's about timing of expenditure. So councillors, I have a request there for some funds to go to the Queensland Hospital Foundation, and councillor, if you look at that program there, it's something there that can be a great benefit to the region-wide community, and one there that the hospital board are doing, a hospital foundation are doing a great service in there. And we heard from the meeting at the lunch meeting how other sets of eyes over an operation for a doctor in the surgical space can actually give that doctor in a regional area more comfort about having advice from other surgeons that are there on call, which is a fantastic way to use technology, but also for our patients and our community, it's a a great step forward. So in a small way, this will help with that project, which I believe is a great outcome. Questions or comments on that, councillors? Councillor Rutherford?
Mr Mayor, I'm wondering whether I can also add to that.
Yep, I'm more than happy because I think there was around $100,000 that they required, so it's only a small thing, but one there that I believe they were looking for donations for.
Yeah, it certainly is a great cause. Yeah. Yep, yep, yep.
Thanks, Councillor Rutherford. I think that's that's going to be well received, and hopefully they can get that project happening sooner than later. Yeah, any more bids? Anyone there that has got anything there? I'm keen to see that go anyway. Councillor Kirkland.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was also at the presentation around this telehealth, and I was equally impressed about how it's going to help our region, that connectivity and how it actually works, the surgeons and how it benefits those surgeons locally, and the attraction, the potential to attract other surgeons to the area as well through having this facility is significant. And happy to talk to anyone offline about what that was all about. But I also would like to add to it, I don't have as much money as Councillor Rutherford, unfortunately. I can only add 1,000, my apologies.
Fantastic. That's,
so we'll continue to grow this. Come on, councillors. We've probably all spent our money by now, but would like to add $1,000.
Oh, that's, thank you,
to this. I believe it's a very, very worthy cause and would love to see it get up.
Okay, thank you. That's, it is a great outcome. Councillors, I'm not keen to move, so could I ask someone that, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Fisher, happy to move? Could I get a seconder? Oh, Councillor Latcham, you happy to second? Okay, I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, councillors. That's a great outcome. Moving on to another application there, and this exhausts my pool. But it was another project there that came to my attention. Councillor Kirkland, you got a conflict on this one? Okay, we might need to just record that, what the conflict is, Councillor Kirkland, just on that.
I'll be the same also. Sorry, I didn't even think about that.
Thank you, councillors. This is an opportunity there to support mental health and recognition in the region and what it means. The Blue Tree Project is a number of projects that's run across the nation, and I think there's around 1,800 trees across the country that have in this space. And one area that we haven't had locally was one here, and it's been brought to my attention that council has a tree on the in the common location that's been worked through our Parks Department to bring to a point where it's ready to be painted, and this allocation will allow that funding to do that project. So just seeking councillors' support for this one. I'm happy to move. Seek a seconder. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Fisher. Any questions to this one? If not, I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. We'll invite the other councillors back into the meeting.
Item 10.4, I've got to declare an interest.
Councillor Fisher's application.
And also just need to add one other part of that conflict, is that my wife Cherie volunteers for this program.
Thank you, councillors. The background of that report explains the process of that one. Councillor May, there's a question?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor, I don't have a problem with this at all, but I just wondering for my own clarification. I understand Councillor Fisher has left the room because there's a conflict. Is there an issue with the fact that someone is involved in that church and that they're donating to the church for? Of course, I understand it's for the school, but is that a that would be, I suppose, it'd be the same thing. Let's say if I was involved in a local club, and then I wanted to use my CDF to support something at a local club, I would have thought that that would have been some sort of conflict. Are we allowed to do that? So let's say I was involved in, if I was in a sporting club, I was in a football club, and I wanted to use my discretionary fund to support something within that club. I know Councillor Latchin a few weeks ago had a conflict of interest because he was donating to the Scouts that his daughter was included with. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, how does this go?
Case by case. Everything's always the case by case. It's again your personal interest and the public interest. So generally speaking, within the Act, you've got an exemption of being a member of a club within that. However, in saying that, you can stay in there if you're dealing with a club matter, lease, whatever else, when you're a member, ordinary member, no issue, no conflict of interest, no declarable conflict of interest. It's again what could be perceived by the public, declaring it, staying in, staying out, even though you can technically do it.
I think the question was about whether Councillor Fisher's declared and he's walked out, but is there a conflict because he's
donating to an organisation he's already part of?
But does he exclude himself? Because
that's
he's
his call.
Himself from
That's his call. That's his call. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what his private interests may be. In more detail than what's been disclosed. Yeah, I'm not sure. So,
yeah, Mr. Mayor, as Mr. Chair, I'm not trying to stop this from happening at all. I'm just trying to get in clear in my mind. If I was part of a footy club, could I donate money from the CDF to that football club?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
That seems a bit.
Yeah, but I would suggest.
To me, that's
I would suggest, even though you could, I would suggest that you put it towards the table.
Yeah, I wouldn't be rushing into that. It just doesn't have a good look about it. But anyhow,
so that's how I would see. Even though you could,
yeah,
I would put it to the table.
Okay.
That would be my.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Kirkland.
Well, thanks, Mr. Mayor, and certainly hearing what Councillor Mathers is talking about, I suppose, is worried about whether we as a council endorsing that are endorsing ratepayers' money to go toward that overall. Having similar thoughts, I just want to firstly say that the work that the churches do in our community is second to none. It's outstanding. They're everywhere doing all kinds of programs, and the churches do carry a great financial cost at providing those services for the community. This is another one of those services where they are stepping up and providing a breakfast for children who potentially otherwise would have come to school without any food. It's a program that other churches in town have been involved in over the years, and some still continuing to provide to other schools. So I'm in favour of this, supporting this dispersion of discretionary funds because it's benefiting the whole community. It's not just going to benefit that particular church or organisation, it's enabling them to facilitate this whilst other churches get their funding and their capacity to do that through different avenues. I think this one is, given that it is for a really good cause to those children who otherwise would attend school without breakfast, I think we should support it.
Okay, you happy to move, Councillor Kirkland?
Happy to move it.
Move, Councillor Kirkland, seconded. Councillor Smith. No further questions. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. We'll invite Councillor Fisher back into the room. Councillors, before we go on to notice of motions, which is the last agenda item on the agenda, can I just ask for councillors if they can turn up for the lunch on Thursday? I'd like to grab the Tourism Award group photo with the councillors at the lunch, if that's okay. If you're unable to make it, just let us know and we'll try and make a time where we can all get together before the end of the year. But it's a great great award, and one there that the councillors need to take recognition of that. Okay.
So is that additional briefing still on that same day? Yeah. so we'll just go from that to lunch.
Okay. Councillor Kirkland, did you declare a conflict with this one?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just with point number 7 in this resolution, it talks about advocating to state and federal candidates at the upcoming elections to support the aims. I've previously had to leave the room because I am a candidate for the state election. Whether we deal with this, I could put a motion that we deal with it in separatum. No, we cannot. Seritarium, thank you for the word.
Is step by step. So if you could actually, sorry, could you scroll down, Linda? You could actually do it in seriatim. Is seriatim?
That's the word.
Yeah,
thank you. Seriatim.
You could actually do it in seriatim because it's step by step. But counts. No, sorry, you couldn't. You'd have to just exclude that one and then come back and do it again.
Your call. You're the motion mover. So.
If you need to, Councillor, I mean that we're going to have to move every item on the...
Yeah, seriatim is every one gets done separately, whereas if you exclude 7 and deal with 1 to 6, that's one motion, and 7 becomes another. So
I might not, Councillor, just in the interest of the process with elections and where that's at. I just think this one, as it will be going to candidates, everyone won't get that opportunity to talk to them at that point from the table.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillors, I'm happy to move this notice of motion. Seek a seconder. Seconded, Deputy Mayor Councillor Fisher. Councillors, we're at a turning point, or at a point in the region's future about where we're going with regards to the transition to renewables, and what that means for our local economy, our local workforce, and our jobs going forward. I liken this to how we've recently been more engaged with the resource sector and what that means to servicing the resource sector. I see renewables as a parallel to what we are doing in the resource sector and how we service that industry going forward. This is an emerging industry, and one there that we can take great advantages for our local area by having an approach where we're cautious, and I have a number of points in there that we look at just to make sure that we're making sure that we get our best outcome for the community in areas of the environment, and maximising what that means, and strengthening landholder rights and way forward in that space as well. And it's also an interesting area there that we see that we can benefit from by having a decision for our regional, for our economic development arm to be able to engage further about the supply chain and what that means in growing more regional jobs in the area. So, councillors, I'm happy to put the motion and ask for your endorsement from that. Speakers against the motion, Councillor Rutherford.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I guess this won't come as any surprise.
Oh, it does, but yeah.
Mr Mayor, you and I have sat at this table together for nearly 20 years, and I can count on one hand, maybe two, the number of times we've been on opposite sides of the debate. But on this occasion, I'm puzzled by your motion. I appreciate the effort you've gone to capture the issues raised both at the table and in the community. That said, I can't in good conscience support your motion. 6 of your councillors, and indeed yourself, have all raised concerns about the impacts renewable energy projects will have on our community, our environment, and the visual amenity of a large portion of our local government area. While touched on in your motion, there is nothing that sends a clear message about how these concerns will be addressed. If your motion is about sending a message to the renewable energy sector that we are open for business, then I believe we are already doing that. We are meeting with proponents regularly, and Advanced Rockhampton is actively engaging and assisting the industry. If it's because we are raising the concerns of our community and those questions are difficult or causing discomfort for the state government and the industry, then that suggests to me that we absolutely need to continue to ask the tough questions. We have met with the state government and industry representatives as well as individual proponents and asked many questions. To date, we have not received any information that provides any confidence that at present the transition to renewables is anything more than a suck-it-and-see approach. Renewable energy projects are being fast-tracked with little due diligence or consideration of the cumulative impacts of land clearing for hundreds of turbines, thousands of solar panels and hundreds of kilometres of access tracks. Between Moa Creek, Boulder Creek and Mount Hopeful wind farms alone, there is a designated project area totalling 32,000 hectares and a disturbance area of around 2,000 hectares. Much of the 2,000 hectares is pristine environment which is home to endangered flora and fauna. These concerns have been raised with state government and the wind farm proponents, and they refer to State Codes 23 and 16. The issue with that is that for the most part, these codes allow proponents to find their own acceptable outcomes. The state government has recognised the insufficient safeguards in these codes and have committed to a review. However, we're still awaiting the new codes, and as time goes by, renewable energy projects are being approved under the existing inadequate guidelines. There's also considerable concern regarding the decommissioning and removal of wind turbines and solar panels at end of life. While many of the components of the turbines can be recycled, the blades are made of either carbon fibre or glass fibre composite materials, which are expensive to break down. A recent study led by University of South Australia indicates that tens of thousands of wind turbine blades will end up in landfill by the end of the century. It states that it is so expensive to recycle the blades and the recovered materials are worth so little, it is unrealistic to expect a market-based recycling solution to emerge. It is prudent that we seek assurance from the state government that landowners and the local government are not going to be left with the cost, disposal or legacy of abandoned turbines. Mr Mayor, your motion talks about being left behind or missing out. I have asked this question many times. Missing out on what? I'm struggling to find any significant long-term benefits that wind farms will bring to our community. Of course, initially there are opportunities for businesses, contractors and the like during construction that will happen regardless as each wind farm is approved. After the towers are operational, opportunities may arise in maintenance and recycling of parts, but this information has been quite sketchy and specific details on opportunities have certainly not been forthcoming. I spoke to a couple of respected industry representatives about the possibility of a manufacturing plant for either turbines or turbine parts, which has been touted. He indicated that it's highly unlikely that would happen. When it comes to jobs during construction, the most any proponent has offered is 17% local jobs, and local means nationwide. Once the wind farms are operational, job numbers reduce dramatically. The general rule of thumb is 3 on-site jobs per 25 turbines. Currently, there is 1 proponent with approval for 97 turbines and 2 approval for 60 turbines each. So at most, we are probably looking at 9 or 10 jobs. The Australian Parliament House report on the social and economic impact of rural wind farms noted that after the initial development phase of wind farms, it is difficult to estimate the day-to-day employment effects in the wider community, on the wider economy. In fact, the report noted that negative effects could result from an increase in electricity prices and the potential of lost opportunities in other economic activities. We have promoted ourselves as an agricultural precinct. If the turbines limit or prevent helicopter mustering or aerial spraying of crops and weeds, I suspect that we will significantly impact these industries. It is worth noting that the APH report referenced a study undertaken in Spain which found that the transition to wind energy caused a loss of 2.2 jobs for every job created in the wind industry. The report also noted that it was the committee's view that even if the net gains in employment were small, the public goods such as greenhouse gas abatement, which is produced by the wind industry, should be taken into account. Little benefit, if any, for the greater good. Mr Mayor and fellow councillors, I have no doubt we will play our part for the greater good. Sorry, Mr Mayor, I'm getting fairly emotional about this. The reality is we will have little choice in that. But what we do have a choice in is how we protect our community, how we fight for our environment, and what legacy is left for our children and grandchildren. The issues I've raised today are just a few of the concerns raised by our community, and they are valid concerns. Advance Rockhampton have been and will continue to work with the renewable energy industry and to ensure we are approachable and on the front foot for opportunities. However, I believe that for now, Council has a duty to represent its people, to continue to work with all relevant parties to address the issues raised and to ensure that we are not left with a legacy like the environmental disaster of the Mount Morgan mine. I cannot support this motion as it stands. The face of Rockhampton region will change irreparably in the not too distant future, and our community will bear all the disadvantages with little benefit. Councillors, most of you on numerous occasions raised concerns about the speed in which this is happening and have spoken passionately about the impacts. Now is our opportunity to encourage the state government to take a breath and work with us to address these issues. The early proponents of wind farms have not done the industry any favours, and we certainly have a duty to expect more for our region. We must make our case while we can before it's too late. It's our responsibility to ensure that in the transition to an alternate energy source, our beautiful region is not destroyed and our people are not disregarded. I offer an alternate motion that acknowledges the transition to renewable energy but sends a very clear message that we expect the industry is held to account right from the outset. And Mr Mayor, I have an alternate, I foreshadow an alternate motion.
Thanks, Councillor Rutherford. Another speaker for the motion? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. I see this...
So, Mr Mayor, do I get to present that alternate motion now? So that people know what the alternate motion is, the foreshadow motion?
Yep, okay, Councillor.
Yeah, if I can send that to Linda, is that the easiest way to put up?
Maybe just a little bit bigger, if that's all right, Linda.
Mr Mayor, it's quite similar to your motion, but it just seeks to get the state government to put some processes in place that protect us. I have dropped number 5, which was to advocate to state and federal candidates, to be fair to Councillor Kirkland if it gets that far.
I can't see it.
Yeah, Speaker for the original motion.
Yes, I'll speak to...
So, if someone's got an alternate motion, doesn't the alternate motion come up and then we vote on that?
No,
If that
foreshadowed
fails, we go back
motion,
to
if the first motion fails, the foreshadowed motion will be put. And that's
It
when
shouldn't it be an
becomes-
alternate motion?
No, you can only put up, no, it's an alternative motion. It's alternative or foreshadowed.
Foreshadowed.
So alternative motions can only put to the vote if the original motion is lost. So you've got a mover and a seconder for the first
Whichever way
motion.
around.
If you were to do an amendment, of which you would do an amendment, you do that. Once you vote on an amendment, then the amendment would become the motion and that would be put. This is a alternate or foreshadowed motion, so it's different. There's different intent, relatively. It can only be put after the first motion is lost.
So if it was an amended motion...
It's not an amended motion, it's a foreshadowed motion. Yeah.
Speaker for the motion, Councillor Fisher.
Okay, Mr Mayor, I support this motion as I see that this is about the big picture. This is about building those opportunities. Now, I know I have played a role within the resource industry and I will continue into the future, but this is about taking those opportunities that we can have, not only the resource industry, but we are building a new industry with the renewables. This is not just constructing and leaving, but actually seeing those opportunities to service, to actually supply those things to keep the renewables operating. And this is something that hasn't been discussed until now. Everyone there has either taken sides for one way or the other. And unfortunately, that has polluted the waters quite immensely. I see that we've got to look at our opportunities that we can create for the residents in our area to actually take those opportunities to actually gain work in the field. So this is not about individual projects, this is about the big picture, and to see that we can gain as much for those individuals within our region to actually gain work and retain work in these industries. So I urge everybody to actually support this recommendations and create an industry hub that can be supportive of renewables while still accepting that we are going to have a resource industry well into the future as well.
Thanks, Councillor Fisher. Another speaker against the motion.
Can I ask a question, Mr Mayor? Because Councillor Fisher is sort of talking about the industries. Can he elaborate on that, please? Is that a point of order? That he elaborate on that, please?
Those two industries, well, there's two opportunities. We've already got a resource industry that employs a large number of our residents. This is grabbing that opportunity for the renewable field of actually being the hub that can service it, that can see other jobs created. I am frustrated by the amount of you're either one or the other. This is about taking those opportunities that we can service both, and that is why I feel that the Mayor's recommendations here actually create an opportunity for Rockhampton and Rockhampton region to be a hub to service the renewables.
Councillor Rutherford, we heard from Stanwell Corporation the other day that they were actually doing that. If you recall that that presentation that they were there, how they can work on that. So that's what it's about. It's about the future, about what those opportunities are and how we can strengthen that going forward. Just to clarify on that question, if that's okay.
Yeah, I won't debate you on.
The Speaker against the motion, Councillor Latcham.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I must commend you on this notice of motion in that I agree with everything in it other than 2 words. Purely 2 words. And it's in point number 4, where we acknowledge and supports investments being made in the energy transition. And I think it's important to acknowledge them. For the points that Councillor Rutherford has given, I don't support elements of the renewables when it comes to wind farms, when it comes to hydrogen, and while I support solar, providing it's not on prime agricultural land, there are elements within the renewables that I do support, but those 2 words I have difficulty supporting the and supports within this whole document. But everything else in there, it is exactly the right way it should be. I fully support everything else that you've put in there. It even strengthens up the need to have that better communication between the other 2 levels of government. And I think that's very important to align yourself with the government of the day. But I do think our community will be the worse off overall if we are supporting those investments at this point in time. Until the environment regulations come through, it's going to make it very difficult to have a compelling argument in our community.
Another speaker for the motion, Councillor Wickerson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I support your motion, absolutely. The world's not a perfect place. We have to clear land to build towers and to put solar panels on farms and other grazing land. We heard the other day, I think it might have been at Stanwell, that looking at plans where you can cohabitate, so you can have solar panels in a paddock and also graze on the same land with the right sort of design in it. The decision won't be ours to make. The alternative to renewable energy is non-renewable, so use it all till it's gone, and it won't happen. All the coal won't be gone. It'll just become so unviable to get it. And as we heard the other day, I think it was at the Resource Council breakfast, banks aren't giving money for coal mines, insurers won't cover them, and the private sector won't cover them. So the decision won't be ours to make. So if we don't have coal moving forward, what does that leave? I know Councillor Latcham is very strongly supportive of nuclear. I'm not so, but there might be other alternatives like nuclear fusion rather than fission. But that's in the future. But in the meantime, as we transition from coal moving forward, that is solar and wind and even hydrogen. We talked about what industries, I think Councillor Fisher raised, what industries we might be missing out on. Hydrogen's a prime example. We missed the boat on that. It's all going down to Gladstone. That could have been ours here. How many jobs are involved in that? And to add insult to injury, using our water to do it. Yeah. So that's got to hurt. So I think Councillor Rutherford talked about legacy. We've got a decision to make now, and we're a small part of a much bigger machine for this, that the legacy we'll leave for our kids and our grandkids and generations to come is to start that movement out of coal and resource sector into something that's much cleaner. Again, the world's not perfect. You have to cut down trees to do that. But if we don't address carbonisation of the whole planet, and looking at the bigger picture, the many trees we have to lose for wind farms and clearing mountaintops and so forth will pale in comparison to what the whole planet suffers. So we've got to be part of that bigger machine, and the step starts now. We can't sort of wait and see. The minute we run out of coal or the coal's not there to be had, it's going to be way too late. We need to get on now. When we started initially looked at the resource sector, and I wasn't part of council then, but I understand that there was a very strong objection to that. We didn't want miners running all around town. We were late to the game of that, but now we understand that that's a big industry. Those people, and I'm no expert, I don't know when that time will come, but it will come, that those people that work in the resource sector for coal will need to find some other employment. That might be mining other materials, the rare minerals that Rockhampton's Australia has plenty of, lithium and so forth for this new industry. those current employees will go into that field. It might be making wind turbines or nuclear fusion plants or whatever that might be, but we need to be part of the game, and we can't just pretend that it's business as usual and just keep using non-renewable energy sources until they're all gone and then think about it. Way too late by then. So we need to be in it now. I know it's not perfect, we have to lose some trees to do that, but we can revegetate those sites. But the bigger picture is going to be much more devastating than that. So with that said, I absolutely endorse your recommendation, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Wickerson. Another speaker against the motion. Councillor Smith.
Mr Mayor, I totally agree with everything you're saying, but for me it's too one-sided. And like Councillor Rutherford, I am concerned about impacted communities. I actually had another dot point to suggest to add to it, and it's about Council continuing to support impacted communities, acknowledging the concerns of adjoining property owners and residents whose visual amenity will be impacted by the developments. And once the visual amenity is there, you can't take it away. Also need to recognise traffic concerns of communities living on previously quiet country roads, and Council continuing to support residents and liaise with developers to continue to inform the public about these developments. And that was what I think that balances it up. So that's my take on the whole thing. As I said, I totally agree with what you're saying, but we haven't included any of the impacted communities.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. Another speaker for the motion. That ends debate. Councillors, I'll wrap up debate again. I was looking for endorsement from the council table to have a position going forward. I believe we're at a point in time where we have an opportunity to demonstrate our support for a new emerging industry that we can gain maximum jobs for our local community while working with other levels of government who are investing in and approving projects around us. We have councils to our north, councils to our south, councils to our west that are far advanced than Rockhampton Regional Council in this space, and they will take those projects over us if we send a message to the industry that we don't support them. So on that note, I'll put the resolution and seek council's endorsement as per my recommendation. Yes, stand, and I'll call a division. Those in favour, please stand. Yeah, myself, Councillor Fisher and Councillor Wickerson. Those opposed? The motion's lost by Councillor Mathers, Councillor Rutherford, Councillor Smith and Councillor Latcham. The motion is lost. Thank you, councillors. We'll there's a foreshadowed motion, councillors.
Can we call Councillor Kirkland back in?
If you wish. Councillor Rutherford moves. We have a seconder. Councillor Smith.
I just can't see the motion.
Mr Mayor, may I ask a question of the motion? Point 3G, what does the strengthening landowners' rights through an independent support service, what would that independent support service, is that provided by council or what is that?
Foreshadow motion, not mine.
Well, Mr Mayor, that was taken from your motion.
It's not now.
So I was trying to reach a compromise and just strengthen so that we were getting some support. So my understanding of that is to give the land owners an opportunity to make sure that that consultation happens. I think it was also discussion that, you know, they had the opportunity to work directly with these proponents and that if need be that there would be an independent overseer for those discussions.
Speaker for.
Yeah.
It's all been said.
Mr Mayor, I think it's...
Do you have a second?
I would like to maybe stress this is not just about cutting down trees and not cutting down trees at all.
No
This
jobs.
is about, well, Advance Rockhampton are not going to change what they do. We're not going to change what we do. What we're asking is that the state government move to get those new codes in place to give our environment some protection and to give us some insurance that we're not going to be left with these wind turbines when they reach end of life. So there are so many questions that have not been answered in any meaningful way.
That's fine. Yeah, are you speaking to the motion, Councillor?
Yes, I am, Mr Mayor. So I commend the motion to the table.
Okay, Councillor, speakers against the motion. Put the motion. Councillor Fisher.
Mr Mayor, we needed a resolution that actually had a high-level statement to actually support jobs and industry, rather than what has happened is it's got back down into the trees. I think that this won't achieve anything, and I urge councillors not to support this, but we really needed to look at what opportunities could be grasped from this and not left our community in the wilderness like when the resource industry first started. I urge that this motion be defeated and we look at another way forward.
Speaker for the motion.
Oh, I think it's all been said, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I spoke before and I think I can't.
Do you wish to wrap up? Well, Councillor Kirkland.
Mr Mayor, can I just read point 4, supports council working with state and federal to see new industries and jobs established in the Rockhampton local government area which align to the renewable sector. Speaking towards what Councillor Fisher has said, this motion actually does place emphasis on the jobs, and it's important that we have a balance around that and that we have been listening to the communities, conversation in talking to community around their sentiment around lack of consultation that's addressed here. We've heard the conversation from the community around the lack of environmental regulations, or those environmental regulations being lacking in strength, I suppose, to ensure our sustainability moving forward.
and it speaks to the legacy issues. I think that it actually complements what may have previously been put forward and just specifies more directly the stance that we are in fact listening to our community, finding that balance, making sure that there is significant consultation, and certainly ensuring that we have a wonderful legacy through the installations of the renewable components to produce energy for our community. I'm very happy to support this motion. Yeah.
Councillor, I'll speak against the motion. I'm deeply disappointed that we didn't include these candidates in the upcoming state election, because I believe that's how we can start to achieve the industries that our neighbouring councils are going to receive in growth and jobs. We don't get that opportunity now through this recommendation, and I urge councillors to not support the recommendation. That wraps up debate. Councillor Rutherford, do you wish to finalise the motion?
I think it's been said, Mr Mayor.
Call a division. Those in favour? Councillor Mathers, Councillor Rutherford, Councillor Latcham, Councillor Smith and Councillor Kirkland. Those in opposition? Councillor Wickerson, Councillor Fisher and myself. The motion's carried. Thank you. Councillors, that brings us to the end of the council meeting. I'll close the meeting. Thank you.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line,